going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Breaking and Entering podcast. Week 10 was a hell of a one, I'll tell you that, boy. We got 5 games go down to the wire with kickers winning for their teams. Two of those games, unfortunately, didn't go in our favor. I'm talking about Brandon and I. Brandon, how you doing today, man?
Not a victory Monday, but I'm hanging in there. Short week, um, prime time Thursday night, but we got a lot
Mm,
to discuss about Sunday's games for sure. Like you said, last week you mentioned how good those games were, and I thought about it, texting you like, what are you going to think about this week's game? So yeah, you basically hit the nail on the head right there, talking about how good those games were in week 10. It was, yeah.
yeah. I texted you picking the games and I texted you the first 2 games and I saw the ending of your game. I was like, in your game too, and I said wow at the end just because I was just like, I said it before. I don't want to pick. I don't even want to pick Browns games because it's just so damn
Hmm.
unpredictable the way they are. But we'll get into it. We'll get to it.
For sure. Yeah, we forgot to mention on Friday. Shout out to the veterans out there. And of course, Saturday was Veterans Day. It was absurd Friday and Saturday across the country. Always like to watch NFL on Fox around this time of the year. They go usually to one of the home of the armed forces, the military across the country. They were in Colorado Springs, U.S. Air Force Academy out there, and kind of unique seeing how they interact with the military members and veterans. And we saw Rob Gronkowski jump out of a plane, basically. That
Mm.
was unique and everything. So, and I did get to see a good amount of it because our game was on Fox this week. So, usually I watch the CBS pregame show just because I'm an AFC fan and my team usually plays on CBS. But again, shout out to Fox for doing that. Always a good time to thank a veteran for their service to our country. Switching gears to the opening drive, Mac Jones, he was benched after a late game interception against the Colts in Germany. Definitely want to talk about that a little bit more. Derek Carr, Michael Thomas, and Marshawn Lattimore, they left the game for the Saints in their loss against Minnesota. Former defensive back DJ Hayden, he was one of 6 people tragically killed in a crash in Houston on Saturday morning. And the Patriots have waived cornerback Jack Jones. We're not going to talk about the um, Germany game, but since it was in the opening drive, uh, it's just a mess. Excuse me, in the quarterback room there in New England. You talk about Mac Jones. I think this is the third or fourth game that he's been benched in the second half, or benched altogether. For was it Bailey Zappi? I think his name is,
Mm-hmm.
and you get Zappi in there. Of course, he got benched because of the interception. It was short in the red zone there. Threw it straight to the defender, basically. And, everybody was looking like, wow. And then, okay, you put Zappi in, and damn it, he throws an interception.
Mm-hmm.
They just, I don't know, man. I know it's some tough sledding up there in New England. If I'm a Patriots fan, I'm livid. You have absolutely no talent. Um, Besides, I mean, you could say the two guys at running back, Stevenson. I know a guy you've always been high on, and former Cowboy Zeke Elliott. They both had decent games on Sunday, but it's just as far as quarterback and skill position on the outside, it's just no talent. It's nothing to help, and I think I've said it several times. They kind of hurt Mac Jones when Josh McDaniels left to become a head coach. That's standard. Everybody loses coaches, coordinators to get a promotion, but you put in a special teams coach and a defensive coordinator call plays, and he just regressed like hell last year. Then by that time, you bring in Billy O'Brien, and it's not working with him either. So they definitely have some decisions to make in New England. I know some people are calling for Bill Belichick's job. I don't think it's time to let him go. I think it's you want to let him ride off the way he wants to leave. I think he's earned that right, no matter
Yeah,
what we think of the scandals over the years and all that stuff. But yeah, it's some tough sledding up there. I feel sorry for Patriots fans in a sense.
I don't. I'm loving it. And I'll be surprised if they do let go of Bill Belichick just because they
I
said they
agree.
resigned him in the off season. But the way it's
Yeah.
going this year and all the rumors, like that seat is hot. So see what happens with that.
Hmm.
But let's get into these games, man. Start with the Packers at the Steelers. Ugly game in my opinion. Another game you mentioned last week where the Steelers are outgained, they somehow still win the game. Kenny Pickett only threw for 126 yards. Just they won the game, but still, it just they did get some good contributions from the running game. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren both had good games on the ground. Jalen Warren, he rushed for 101 yards, and Najee rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown. Overall, the Steelers rushed for over 200 yards. TJ Watt, he also passed his brother for the most amount of sacks in
Yeah,
the first 100 games. JJ Watt, excuse me, he had 87.5 sacks in his first 100 games. And TJ, he had a sack in this game or the game yesterday, and he got 88.5 sacks. So salute to TJ Watt for that. But yeah, back to this game, man. It kind of put me to sleep when I was watching it on NFL Red Zone just because it was just so ugly. I mean, a lot of these games been ugly this year just because of like I said last week, the defense have been stepping up and the offenses have not caught up yet. A lot of the quarterback play has been miserable. But the Steelers, they somehow get it done. They're now 6-3, right? I believe they're 6-3 now. That
yep,
AFC is turning into a battlefield like standings wise, man. Brandon, what did you think about this game?
yeah. Make
And your
that
boy
six
Jordan Love.
games. Yeah,
Sorry.
I know, my boy. My boy, I'm about to get to him in a second, but yeah, 6 games. You talk about the Steelers have won despite being outgained. They have actually been outscored in every game. If you didn't already say it, very hats off to Mac Tomlin for getting it done, finding ways to win despite the lackluster offensive play. You open my eyes to Jalen Warren early in this year before the Steelers beat the Ravens, and he definitely showed up in this one, a career high in rushing yards for him, and Najee Harris back in the stat line in a good way as well. Oh, Canada. Um, Matt Canada, he was on the sidelines for this one. It kind of probably was a good idea for them to switch him down to the sidelines because I know Steelers fans have been fighting to get a piece of him and get him out the door for not just this year, for the last couple of years. But Green Bay, they take 2 steps forward last week with a win against the Rams, and then they take 3 steps backwards in this one here. Jordan Love, they lost the game because of his turnovers, in my opinion. He had 2 interceptions,
Mm-hmm.
2 key interceptions, especially one at the end. He went from having one of the best touchdown to interception ratio at the start of the season to now he's thrown a total of 10 interceptions and 14 touchdowns. What a massive turnaround. Again, that first game, it was 3 touchdowns, no picks. And like I said, Love was in the air after that first week. But since then, it's not been much of anything besides the Rams win last week for the Packers. They made some big plays in the passing game, though, despite his turnovers. Um, and even in the run game, AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, they weren't like flashy, but they were getting yards here and there, and they kept it close. It just wasn't enough. And I mean, shout out to Romeo Dobbs though in a losing effort, that toe drag swag touchdown in the right corner of the end zone. Um, one of the better catches I've seen this year. But I don't know if you saw that big scuffle at the end of the game. That might have been the best moment of the game. I mean, like you said, it kind of put everyone to sleep. It was Love through that interception. The guy went back towards the Steelers sideline. The defender, number 23, I don't have his name in front of me, and he got knocked down, and a bunch of Steelers were over there, and it was just a mess. Players from the Green Bay sideline started coming that way. I wouldn't be surprised if Roger Goodell issued some fines. I doubt it'll be any suspensions, but you never know. Just because it was at the end of the game, they couldn't really penalize anyone. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't really eject
Mm-hmm.
anyone because the game was obviously over. But yeah, Roger Goodell, he liked to get in the money to pockets of those players. So yeah, that'll be something to watch later in the week to see if anybody catches a fine for that in-game scuffle there in Pittsburgh.
Definitely.
All right, everyone. Turning our attention to Texans at Bengals. What a game it turned out to be in the jungle. Texans and the Bengals, they're both 5-4 now after Houston beat Cincinnati. What are your thoughts on this one? Did you see any of it?
Yeah, on the Friday show, I thought the Bengals would the defense would confuse and frustrate CJ Stroud. I was wrong, everybody. They talking about CJ Stroud in the MVP conversation now, and I
Yep.
honestly don't blame him the way he's been playing. I want to give a shout out to Devin Singletary too. He had a huge game, 30 rushes for 150 yards, and that Houston defense is playing really well. They picked off Joe Burrow twice in this game. But back to CJ Stroud and that offense, man. They definitely got one here, boy. They got a quarterback for the future. What's also great is he can get the ball to a lot of different players. Last week it was a lot of Tank Dell. This week it was a lot of Noah Brown. He had 7 receptions for 172 yards, and he's just the way he's getting throwing the ball around and getting the ball out of his hands and moving it downfield. Man, he really does not look like a rookie at all. So I'm real interested to see how he's going to look going forward, if he'll have a sophomore slump or if he'll take another leap. But the Texans are 5-4 right now. They're second behind the Jaguars. I give them a real good shot of making the playoffs right now. And I think their future is real bright. They got a CJ Stroud on a rookie contract. They can bring in some players if need be to further boost their team. And off the side of the ball, I'm looking at their wide receivers. They don't really have a guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Robert Woods is an established guy, but they don't really have an established guy like a all-pro or all-star player on that receiving corps. But they still are really explosive. And I think CJ Stroud and Tank Dell in the future is going to be real dynamic. Hopefully they get Mechie involved a little bit more as the year goes on and further down the line in their career. But yeah, man, I was shocked by this one. This is a back and forth game for the most part. The Texans didn't score in the first quarter, but after that first quarter, they scored 10 points in each quarter, 10, 10, 10 to finish with 30 points. They Bengals almost put out the end. They picked off CJ Stroud. I thought they were going to return it for a pick six, but they didn't. And Texans came back and won the game. I mean, I'm honestly shocked the way the Texans have played this season. What did you think about this game, though?
Yeah, you mentioned you were wrong on the outcome of this game from Friday, and I was right. It feels good to be right, but I picked against myself in my picks league. I went with Cincinnati and they lost, and I picked Houston on Friday in the show, and I'm mad at myself. I thought Houston had just enough to take the win in this one. Um, I thought, with that revamped defense down there, they'd get after Joe Burrow, and they did. 2 interceptions, 4 sacks. They played stout against the run. I mentioned on Friday how the Cincinnati doesn't really have a strong run game, and they proved it again on Sunday as well. 66 total yards on the ground. They did get in the end zone. Don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase and Boyd, they both got busy, but it just wasn't enough there. And as for the Texans, you mentioned Noah Brown. The hot streak for him continues. Devin Singletary, 30 for 150 and a touchdown. CJ Stroud, he went untouched late in the fourth quarter for that touchdown. Then he did the OH celebration. He was there back in the state where he played college ball at. I said I was, mostly concerned with them having a new kicker, and then that shut me up too. Matt Amendola walked it off of a 38-yard field goal. You mentioned 5 games came down to a kick as time expired, and this was one of them. So, yeah, like you said, the future looks very bright for the Texans. And I'd like to send a special thank you to the Texans organization for beating the Bengals. They were right on our tails, despite being down 2 games, entering that, probably 2.5, because it was technically 2 in the standings plus the game we had beat them. But then, of course, we squandered that opportunity to be up by 3 against them, which we're getting into next. But yeah, special thank you to the Texans. Hopefully this will come back to help us at the end of the season as far as the standing goes in the AFC North.
And I forgot to mention Tyler Boyd. He had a huge drop towards the end of the game where Burrow threw the ball in the end zone and just hit him in his hands and he dropped it. I know that's gonna sting or hunt him for a while. Hopefully he can get over it. But if he would have caught that, Bengals probably would have had a better chance of winning the game because they would have went up.
For sure.
I think like 3 or 4 points. But yeah, wanted to put that out there. But all right, before we get into this Browns Ravens game, I really want to hear what Brandon has to say about this. This episode is brought to you by Premium, a CBD and wellness company. Check out their full line of CBD infused products, which make great stocking stuffers for the upcoming holiday season. perfect for athletes, weekend warriors, soccer moms, and even armchair quarterbacks. They have CBD infused honey, which is a personal favorite, as well as tinctures and mint and regular flavor. Most importantly, they are veteran and women owned. So come get some of the sweet temptation and taste the premium difference. Use code B&E for 15% off your order. Their website is www.premium.com. That's PREHEMIUM.com. Again, that's PREHEMIUM.com. And now let's get back to our show. AFC North battle, Browns at Ravens. Brandon, I'm gonna just let you get into it. I ain't talked to you that much yesterday because I know you was probably mad as hell about the way the game ended. So yeah, I'm gonna let you do your thing. What happened?
Yeah, I texted you after this game when you said you wanted to talk about it, that whenever the media hypes us up, we find a way to shut them up, and not in a good way. Okay, we find a way to lose a game, and it tends to be at home in front of the home crowd. I've been at those games, man. Back in 2019, 2018, I was going to games regularly, and we'd be almost in that same situation. Well, maybe not 19 because that was the year we went, I think 14-2, but definitely 2018 and 2020 as well. Um, Honestly, a tale of two halves. We led 17-6 at halftime, flat out dominating them. They failed in the red zone. Watson only had like 70 to 80 yards. He had that pick six on the second play of the game to Hamilton, the safety, Kyle Hamilton. And the only thing that was working for them at that point offensively was the run game, which I knew at that point that they were going to stick around because they were just hitting that right side of the offensive line. And you mentioned Friday, both tackles were going to be out, but it didn't play a damn difference on that right
It
side, man,
didn't.
because
I
they
was
was
surprised.
it didn't make no sense, man, the way they was coming at us on that side. Second half, particularly the fourth quarter, I'm gonna focus on. We we all saw that big play to OBJ for 40 yards. Basically runs in the end zone untouched, and it's funny because I saw a meme on Facebook that after that play, it kind of went downhill. Like they showed OBJ yelling and screaming in the end zone, celebrating, and it was downhill from there. Um, Cleveland responded with a touchdown. Marlon Humphrey got hurt. Another sign that it wasn't gonna end up good. And then came Myles Garrett. He had two back-to-back sacks, shifted the momentum before James Prochet, former Raven, the reason why he's gone. Uh, he muffed the punt, and I was like, yes, okay. Not only does it prove my point that this guy cannot catch the ball, but this might just be the momentum shift that we need after Myles Garrett had just had two back-to-back sacks. Ronnie Stanley got this was a very long drive from inside the 8 yard line, y'all. Just about 10 yard line, something like that. And we had a couple penalties. I think they had a penalty or two. Ronnie Stanley got hurt. It went to commercial break, and I'm like, good lord, can we just like move on with this? And we did finally punch it in for a touchdown. Cleveland went right back down the damn field for a touchdown after that. We get the ball back with just enough time to basically run it out or run the clock down. But then LJ, he had a tip pass, ends up in the hands of Newsome. Newsome runs it back on the left sideline, damn near untouched for a touchdown, and couldn't do anything at that point. Former commander Dustin Hopkins hits the game winner. Got to give credit where credit's due, man. They made some adjustments in the second half as far as the passing game goes. I mean, Watson exploded in the second half. Amari Cooper, we always struggle against big receivers. He was out there doing his thing. But we had Elijah Moore out there catching passes. Always, I don't think I mentioned on Friday, we always struggle against David Njoku as well. And he had some big catches as well there in the second half. And over 100 yards rushing for Jerome Ford. We can tend to win games when we give up 100 yards combined, but when it's to one player and it's just a downright grind out, we tend to lose those games. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. But yeah, got a lot to clean up in a short turnaround. We definitely could have been on cruise control if we won this game. As I mentioned in the Houston Cincinnati game, we would have been up by 3 in the division, despite the Steelers win. But yeah, we got Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. that'll be a big discussion on Friday in our Friday show. What happens in that one? God forbid we lose two in a row. That's going to put the Steelers. I think they'll be in first place at that point if they win and we lose. If they win on Sunday and we lose, that'll put them in first place. So yeah. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, you said it, tale of two halves. That first
Mm-hmm.
half, y'all had Deshaun Watson looking crazy out there. He was honestly looking like how he's been looking for most of the season, is just not good. But that second half went around. I don't think he missed a pass. I think he went perfect from the field in the second half as far as
Yeah,
passing the
it's
ball.
crazy.
I don't think he had an incompletion. The Browns, they scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. You mentioned Jerome Ford having a good day, over 100 yards in the ground. It was just, I was shocked. I was watching this game on Red Zone. I think it was score was like 24-9 with about 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And then the Browns scored. I was like, uh-oh, it's going to be a game now. Then y'all scored again. And it was 31-17. I was like, maybe, okay. I think the Ravens will,
Mm-hmm.
get this out. I was wrong. Like I said before, I'm not picking the remainder of games the Browns got left. I'm just gonna skip over. I'm not picking those games at all because seriously, you think a game they're gonna lose and I wind up winning.
Yeah.
A game you think they're gonna win and they wind up losing. So, like I said before, I'm done picking against the Browns or just picking deciding Browns games in the future because they're so damn unpredictable, man. It's crazy. You mentioned Myles Garrett, those 2 sacks he had. Newsome with the pick 6. That was just. I kind of feel
Crazy.
bad for Lamar a little bit just because that was one of those ones you're like the ball gets tipped in the air and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what can you do
Nothing you can
about
do.
it?
Yep.
I mean, you guys, if you look at the stat sheet, you guys, Deshaun Watson overall, his game wasn't the greatest. I mean, you guys picked
True.
him off. You sacked him 4 times. I think you forced a fumble from him too. They believe they recovered it, but y'all were getting after Deshaun. But that defense for the Browns, they starting to tighten up. You guys weren't able to do pretty much anything in the final quarter. You scored a touchdown, but overall second half, you guys scored 14 points and they put up about 24 points. And like you said, it was just a tale of two halves, man. Yeah, I want to see what's going to happen with you guys going forward. Because that, like I said earlier, the AFC, those standings are pretty
Yeah.
crazy right now. There's a lot of teams with 5 wins. You got 7 wins. Is escaped me. Who's the other team with 7 wins right now? The Chiefs. Is it Chiefs?
Chiefs, yeah. And
Yeah.
then
So
Dolphins and Jags are 3-4 in the AFC overall
yeah.
playoff
So it's
seating
gonna
right now.
be I think it's gonna go down to the wire as far as the AFC in that race to who's gonna be on top of that conference. But yeah, man, crazy game. I kind of feel like this one stung for you and all the rest of the Ravens fans, especially at
Yeah.
the end of the game, losing it that way. So hopefully you guys can bounce back Thursday. You got a short week against another divisional opponent. So we'll see how it goes out. We'll keep you informed and let you know how we felt about it Friday for sure.
Yep.
All right, let's get into these other scores from week 10. The Bears beat the Panthers in Thursday night football 16-13. The Patriots lost to the Indy in Germany. We mentioned earlier, Mac Jones was benched. Indy beat the Pets 10-6. Vikings won over the Saints 27-19. Bucks dominated the Titans 20-6. 49ers crushed the Jags 34-3 to snap a 3-game losing streak. Cardinals beat the Falcons 25-23 in a return of Kyler Murray. Lions win at SoFi against the Chargers 41-38. That might have been game of the week. That was a really
For
good
sure.
game.
Yep.
Cowboys crushed the Giants again, this time 49-17. Seahawks beat the Commanders as time was expiring 29-26. And the Raiders have improved to 2-0 under Antonio Pierce following a 16-12 win over the Jets. Brandon, which of these other games caught your eye?
Yeah, there was a lot. As I mentioned earlier, the Germany game, I didn't watch much of it, but Patriots stuck between a rock and a hard place. I don't know if you saw the highlights. Billy O'Brien, he was laying in the mac and cheese
Mm-hmm.
there late in the game. Mac throws that late game interception. He gets benched again, And then Zappy says, "Don't worry, my guy, I got it. I'm gonna throw another interception for you." And that's how the damn game ended. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, tough break for them when they could have easily beat the Colts. If they had some sort of quarterback play in that one. I mean, because Indy only put up 10 points, so obviously they weren't, lighting up the scoreboard either. Vikings and the Saints. Chris Olave, he had a toe drag swag touchdown in the end zone as well. Another good game for Dobbs. Minnesota, I think
Mm-hmm.
they've won 5 straight games now, if I'm not mistaken. 49ers, as a supporter of the Jaguars in Duval County, they got their asses handed to them for sure. T-Law, he looked like a rookie out there, and that revamped 49er defensive line looks very good. Success for Steve Wilkes transitioning to the sideline. I know that was a big storyline heading into this one as well. Cardinals and the Falcons. Did you see that run by Kyler Murray for only 13 yards? He damn near ran around for, I
Yeah,
heard
he
it
was
was
looking like
dozens of
Josh
yards.
Dobbs. Yeah.
Yeah. And eluding defenders, one hand on the ball. Nobody could catch him. Looked like Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay when he was running for his life. But this was the first tight end for Arizona to go over 100 yards since 1989. Let
Yeah, I
me
was
get
playing
that.
against him in fantasy. I'm like, ooh, typical. This is perfect.
Let me get that
Yeah.
name real quick.
Trey
Give him a
McBride, I
shout out.
believe.
Thank you, McBride. Yep. And then lastly, the Lions and the Chargers. I mean, did anybody show up on defense for real? I mean, literally, it was 46 yards shy of 1,000 yards combined in that game. You mentioned it was basically game of the week, and it was. Nobody can argue that for sure. So, yeah, that was a good one as well. I did see a good amount of that in the second window of the games. What about you? Which games caught your attention?
Definitely that Vikings Saints game just to see Josh Dobbs another week in the Vikings offense. He looked pretty good. Wasn't he didn't run as much in my opinion. He was able to throw the ball a little bit more, and the Vikings got the win. We mentioned earlier Derek Carr went out, and I saw Jameis Winston go in there and do some Jameis Winston thing, threw some touchdowns, as he also threw some interceptions. Remember there was one play he threw a touchdown where he threw the ball like across his body, like something they tell quarterbacks never do, but he was able to sneak it in there for a touchdown. I was like, wow, it's good to see my boy James back out there, just blowing my mind with his plays.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course, I got to talk a little bit about this Commanders Seahawks game. They were showing the end of that game on Red Zone, and like I said earlier in our previous shows, at this point, I'm just watching football. When the Seahawks won the game, I honestly, this kind of how should I say this, shocked me, or I don't know, but I didn't have any type of feeling when the Commanders lost. So I was just like, okay, what are they going to show next? At this point, I really don't give a damn about the Commanders. They put up a great performance though. I will say, Sam Howell going into this game, he was the most sacked, most pressured, most hit, whatever you
Mm-hmm.
can think of as far as quarterbacks getting sacked. He's leading the field with that one. He was sacked 3 more times this week. He had a great throw to De'Ami Brown, who caught in the stride and rushed it and ran it in for a touchdown at the end of the game to tie the game up. But the Commanders' defense, they weren't able to stop the Seahawks. They were able to march down the field, convert third downs, second downs, whatever, make the time run out and kick the ball to win the game-winning field goal. So salute to the Seahawks. I can't remember the last time the Commanders even beat the Seahawks. It seems like since 2012, back when RG3 got hurt in the playoffs against them. I've just been whenever we play the Seahawks, they always lose. The
Mm-hmm.
Commanders, I mean. I said that I don't know what the hell I was thinking, the picking the Jags to beat the 49ers. I thought they had the better quarterback and he would go out there and play well, but nope. Chase Young came out there. He got us half a sack. He got sacked 5 times overall. Just a terrible game for the
Mm-hmm.
Jags. 49ers look great. They got Chase Young. They got Trent Williams. Debo Samuel came back as well,
Yep.
and they look like they definitely got that 3-game losing streak off their shoulders for sure. And Cowboys and Giants. I said when they played the Eagles last week, I said, Brandon Cooks the week before they got involved. They got him involved. Hopefully they do the same thing against the Eagles. He didn't. I got Brandon Cooks on my fantasy team. I was pissed at his performance. So I put him on the bench this week against the Giants, thinking, it's going to be the same thing. I was wrong. This mofo had his best game of his career probably. Him and CD went off against the Giants. The
Yeah.
whole damn team. Dak Prescott threw a party against the Giants, and Tommy DeVito and crew was a long, long game for you, man. But
Oh
yeah, those
man,
are the
tell
games.
me about it.
Definitely caught my eye, man.
Yeah, it was one
Oh,
more
and
point.
sorry, one quick thing. Colorado, they lost. They
Yeah.
also Arizona beat them in a game-winning field goal. I thought the Arizona would come in there and whoop on them, but Colorado, they made it a game. I believe it's their last home game this season, but they lost a tough one, 34-31 to Arizona. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I mentioned the I mean, you mentioned the 49ers and Jaguars as well. I said on Friday I wasn't going to pick on the air. I did go with the 49ers. I was almost close to picking the Jaguars as well. You know, I got love for them, especially since last year. But yeah, they definitely got their asses handed to them. Like I said, they're mediocre when it comes to stats, and it kind of showed um, on Sunday how, you know, they definitely have some work to do for sure down there in Duval County. Um,
Yep.
we got a Monday night game we got to talk about too. We got let's see, Bills and Broncos from there in Buffalo. What are your expectations on the outcome of this one?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit on Friday. I think the Broncos are going to get this one done. If they don't win the game, I feel like they can cover the point spread, but I got the Broncos in this one. I probably sound a little crazy to a bunch of guys out there, but I just a gut feeling. So I'm going with the Broncos. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills. It was some tough sledding on who I could pick to lock this week in my picks league because two of the guys picked Dallas. Mike Hardy, he's been on our show before. He picked Seattle against your Commanders, and I was like, usually whenever it's three or more people to pick one team as their lock, that team ends up losing. So I was like, I didn't want to be the one to pick Dallas, and then we all end up losing a lock, even though it wouldn't hurt me. But I definitely picked Buffalo. Like I said, I don't think it'll be as close as some people believe it will be. But and I did go on and lock Buffalo in this game. I think that's basically me guaranteeing a win. Hope it doesn't come back to bite me. But yeah, I do like Buffalo in this one. I think it'll be a pretty easy game for them. I know the weather's starting to change here on the East Coast as well. So I was looking at the pregame. There was some uh, hats and gloves on heading to this one. I mean, I know Denver's used to playing in that, but I don't think they've changed over um, all the way yet. They're in the Midwest, so yeah. Give me Buffalo at home in this one. Player
All
awards,
right.
everyone. Um, Offensive player of the week. Who do you got?
I'm gonna give it to Dak Prescott. He threw for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like I said earlier, he threw a party against the Giants. Brandon Cooks had a great game. I wish I would have started him, but that's how it goes for me in fantasy this year. So, yeah, Dak Prescott, he's my offensive player of the week.
I'm gonna go with a little surprise some people, but Kyler Murray. 11 months to the day he got injured, he returned, wheeled his team to victory. Again, not a big game, but he showed up in big moments. Of course, that big time scramble there in the fourth quarter on the final drive, eluding defenders for the 13-yard gain and a first down to keep that drive going. And they got in the field goal range and won it there at the end. So Kyler Murray, good to see you back, my guy. Defensive player of the week.
You probably won't like this one, but I'm gonna give it to Greg Newsome, the cornerback for the Browns, who had that pick six. He had a half a sack, I believe, two in that game. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to my man Greg Newsome of the Browns. Sorry, Brandon.
I could respect it because I was sticking with the same game. Just the guy, you know, they're talking about a defensive MVP candidate, you know, defensive player of the year, Miles Garrett.
Mm.
Only three tackles and a sack and a half, but they were on back-to-back plays in the fourth quarter when his team needed a big-time stop. Kind of shifted the momentum even more in the favor towards his team. Again, I mentioned on Friday, I asked the offensive line to find ways to block this guy. In the first half, they were doing it. Besides when LJ had to step up in the pocket, second half they struggled, and you know, that was part of the reason why we lost. So yeah, shout out to Miles Garrett, big guy there with the Cleveland Browns. Special teams. Who you got on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the damn Seahawks kicker, Jason Myers, who was 5 for 5 and hit the game-winning field goal against the Commanders. So, shout out to Jason Myers, who couldn't fucking miss yesterday. I'm sure next week he'll probably miss every fucking field goal he goes after. What about you?
I got two guys. Got to give respect to former Commanders kicker Dustin Hopkins, current
Mm.
Brown, 4 for 4, including the game winner right there as the clock was expiring. And then as well, Matt Amendola down there with the Texans. I said he could have been one of the only reasons why Houston lost, but he shut me up. He was 3 for 3 and perfect with his extra points as well. Big win for both of their teams. Credit to those guys for helping put the final points on the board for their teams. Bonehead call or play of the week.
Yeah, I have to give it to Bill Belichick and the Patriots for their decision to bench Mac Jones and put in Bailey Zappi with 2 minutes left in the game. I mean, you're gonna throw a guy out there with the most important drive of the game on the line, and we saw the results. I forgot who was commentating the game. I think it was one of the McCourty brothers, but he said something funny. I wish I would have wrote it down. He was like, and Zap throws it into he was like, he threw it into a DB meeting because it was about 3 defenders where he threw the ball. I bust out laughing. I wish I remember exactly what he said. It was really funny. But yeah, I got to give it to Bill Belichick. I thought it was a bonehead decision to put Zapp in for the last drive, the 2 minute drive to end the game. I mean, he was moving the ball downfield. He was about to shut me up, but then he threw that pick. I was like, well, what can you do? What can you say, right? What about you?
And both of those guys played for Bill Belichick and the Patriots, so they reserved the right to say no matter which one it was. The McCourty brothers doing great in the broadcasting business, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the 49ers bench. Sorry, not the 49ers bench. Is it? Yeah. Sorry. Messed up my own notes. Yeah, the 49ers bench. Trevor Lawrence, he threw an interception. Defender was taking it to the house. Team is hyped up. Defender gets to the end zone, scores. But then flag comes out. Everybody's like, what's going on? Um, Come find out, the 49ers bench, about 5 or 6 players were on the field. Obviously, that's a no-no. And not the guys that, that were on the defensive play at that time. These are guys that were technically supposed to be to the opposite side of the white line, that big piece of chalk there. Okay. Um, they look like they look like the Mike Tomlin back in Thanksgiving against my Ravens when
Uh,
when the Jacoby Jones ran for that big punt return. I can't remember if he scored in that game or not, but Mike Tomlin told me something he didn't see the sideline. So I don't know what their excuse was besides the fact that they were hyped up and excited the way they were killing the Jaguars down there in Duval County. But yeah, bonehead, um, bonehead play, honestly, bonehead decision for y'all. Pay attention where you're at. That whole play got called back. Yeah, they ended up beating the hell out of them, but still, that could have
right.
been that could have been a big moment in your season when you look back on it. When they show the highlights end of the year, and it got called back because y'all were on the field. So yeah, that's my bonehead play of the week.
And speaking of that 49ers Jags game, the streak of touchdowns for Christian McCaffrey
Yeah,
ended. Everybody and their mother scored in that game except Christian McCaffrey. And they were trying at the end of
they
the
tried.
game,
Yep,
they tried to get
they
him in
took
the end
everybody
zone,
out
but
but him.
Jags was like, nah, we were finally gonna play defense.
Mm-hmm.
And we ain't gonna let him score. So yeah. But hey man, 17 games, scoring a touchdown. Salute to Christian McCaffrey for tying a record. He just couldn't break it,
Sure.
buddy. Maybe next time.
Yep. Like you said, they definitely were trying. They even went for it on 4th and goal.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing that. Yeah. But hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. We hope everyone's team did well in Week 10, better than ours. Please pray for me as my Ravens begin a stretch of primetime games. We all know I don't like primetime. 4 out of our next 5 are under the lights. I hate playing in primetime, but it is what it is. It comes, when you're good a season before and you're good consistently, they put you on primetime. So Bengals and Ravens on Thursday Night Football from the bank. We'll be back on Friday to unravel that one and preview the remainder of games of Week 11. Until next time, love one another.